Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. On this episode today, we will be doing a little bit of tackle talk, and the subject will be regarding baitcasters. I have a lot of subscribers and viewers who have often watched this show and often ask me quite a bit of questions about baitcasters and why I would use such for such applications. So, let's begin. The most common type of baitcasters many of my viewers and subscribers alike will often see me use when I bass fish are these egg-shaped type of baitcasters. These type of baitcasters are commonly associated with bass fishing, but can be used for saltwater fishing, salmon and steelhead fishing. They are often characterized with a side plate and a braking system. A common form of braking system will be magnetic, which will often be found among many of these type of baitcasters. Some will vary, but most of them will tend to be magnetic among the most common one. The body or the main frame of the baitcaster will be either composed of metal or an alloy or either graphite. The most cheapest forms tend to be graphite and plastic, while the most expensive form will be milled and machined and will be primarily metal. Depending on the manufacturer, on the side of most of these baitcasters will be a number indicating the size of the baitcaster along with the gear ratio of the baitcaster. The smaller the number, the smaller body of the baitcaster will be. The bigger the number, the bigger body the baitcaster will be. The bigger number baitcasters will allow the angler to carry more line and bigger diameter on the spool. This particular example, I have 14-pound fluorocarbon loaded on this baitcaster, a 200 size with 150 yards. Now whereas with the smaller baitcasters, such as this 70 size, the spool is a lot much shallower, allowing me to run much finer, thinner line in diameter. This form of baitcaster is often the preferred form for anglers casting lures all day. Commonly seen among bass fishermen, it is still the preferred style for most anglers casting lures, whether inshore or freshwater. Now the next style is the traditional round reel. Why are these traditional in a sense is because these are the OGs of the baitcaster world. Many of these traditional round reels will come with something called a bait clicker or a bait runner. This will allow the fish to take off with the bait and such and run with the line clicking. These reels will often come with an oversized line guide. The purpose of the oversized line guide is so that the angler can use much heavier line and much thicker line in diameter. These round reels will often come with a much deeper spool, allowing the angler to spool up with much heavier line, and a whole lot more line as well. In my arsenal of baitcasters, I prefer these for my bait fishing or my sit and wait style fishing for bigger game such as catfish and sturgeon. This is the clicking sound when engaging the clicker or the bait runner. The reel will emit a click, letting the angler know that a fish has taken the bait and is on. To disengage, all I will do is turn it off, or sometimes you could just turn the handle. These type of reels will often be extremely heavy and cumbersome, but they still serve a great purpose in many die-hard bait fishermen's arsenal. I primarily use these for catfish fishing and sturgeon fishing. The next class of baitcasters I will discuss will be line counters. A lot of my subscribers and viewers will often have seen me use these when I am trolling for trout or kokanee salmon and king salmon. This style of baitcasters will also come with a bait clicker as well. This will allow the angler when trolling to manually let line out on the downriggers. The counter at the top will allow the angler to know how much line had been let out, and to disengage, all it will take is the click of the button or just turn the handle. By turning the handle, the angler can retrieve the line and the counter will count it down to how much line had been retrieved as well. When letting line out, it is best that the angler start the counter at 0. This will allow the angler to know exactly how much line had been let out behind the watercraft. This style of baitcasters can also be used to vertical jig. If fish is spotted right beneath the watercraft or boat, an angler can also precisely target the depth where the fish has been spotted. Line counters are a must-have for any anglers that are serious in trolling, whether it be for cold water species or walleyes in the Great Lakes. Another style of line counter reels will be the round reels. These round reels will come with a bait clicker, same as with the smaller reels, but the biggest difference is they will come with a much bigger line guide, allowing the angler to run much heavier line and bigger diameter line. They are also great for running lead core line, which will tend to be extremely thick in diameter. My preference when running these round style line counter reels are to use lead core or use it to carry a vast amount of braid when running a diver. Divers will require a vast amount of line to be let out to reach to desired depth. Should I get snagged up, I won't have to worry about respooling because they'll often carry more than enough line to let another diver out. This style of line counter are my preferred kind of reels when I'm running lead core or divers. They'll often come with an oversized line guide compared to the smaller reels. The spool will be a lot much deeper, allowing me to carry a lot more line and much heavier diameter line compared to a smaller style egg style line counter. Line counters are a must-have for the anglers that are serious about trolling. Now the last class of baitcasters I will be discussing will be bait finesse. Bait finesse casters have gotten extremely popular out here in the United States in the last decade. Developed in Japan primarily for targeting small salmonid species in the streams and rivers of Hokkaido, a lot of innovations had been put into them to now where they can also be used to target bass, particularly heavy pressure bass or line shy bass. Some anglers that don't like the use of spinning gear will almost exclusively replace their spinning lineup with these kind of casters. These kind of bait casters are primarily identified by their extremely skinny, shallow spool. The line capacity on these kind of casters will be severely limited, primarily because the spool needs to be machined to be at the thinnest diameter possible in order to cast ultra-light setups, such as down to as low as 0.5 gram. This style of bait casters are my preferred style of casters to fish in small rivers and creeks. The biggest advantage I find these to have are the line control. Oftentimes when I'm fishing in creeks and small rivers, I want small precise casts to my target location. Bait finesse casters will also come in the round style reel as well. More often than not, these round style bait finesse casters will be extremely expensive. The reason this style is so expensive in the bait finesse setup is because they're often machined and milled from a single piece of metal, such as aluminum or an alloy-based body. This will cause the reel not to flex when the angler is playing a fish. The spool on these round style reel will often be very finely milled and machined. This style of reel will often be a luxury to fish with. This style of reel is great for fishing small rivers and streams. I find the line control on this style of round reel to be superior to a spinning rod. The oversized eye allow the line to flow very smoothly, and with nothing but a click and a turn of the handle, I can control the line directly from my rod tip to the water. The spool on this style of reel will often be precisely milled and machined, allowing me to spool braid as thin in diameter as 1 pound test. The extremely thin diameter of the spool will allow me to spool the reel with very low profile diameter braid, thus allowing me to make quick, precise casts to very specific areas of rivers or streams. The frame of this baitcaster is made from one solid piece of metal. It will have very little flex when playing a fish or when using a lure that requires being dragged through heavy waters, such as current in a river. This style of round reel will often be a joy to cast all day in small rivers and creeks. I use this reel primarily to target small rivers and creeks for wild trout or trout in general. As I mentioned earlier, bait finesse casters are more so a specialty gig for a very few anglers here in the United States because they are not as popular here in the United States as they would be likewise in Japan. Overall, I hope this episode gives those anglers out there a general idea of bait casters and why I utilize them in many of my episodes. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, tight lines y'all.